You're listening to Hooked on Startups, where every week you'll hear from some of the most talented, inspiring, and successful entrepreneurs who share their real-life stories, how they overcame challenges and failures, and how they mastered success. Get ready for some of the best business tips, tricks and tactics, and some frank, unscripted discussions. Here's your host, Matthew Sullivan.
On the Hooked on Startup show today, we have none other than Gavin McGarry. Gavin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So let me tell you a little bit about Gavin. So on your Twitter feed, you describe yourself as a human behavior aficionado, a crowd dynamics specialist, a data hound, a cyclist, and a percussionist. But according to my research, you are also the founder and CEO of Jumpwire Media, which has been recognized as one of the top 10 media companies, which is no mean feat. And your clients include companies like Coca-Cola and AMC and Yahoo and Sony Pictures. And before you founded Jumpwire back in 2009, you were heavily involved in the internet startup. Is it pronounced Used or Juiced? Juiced, okay. And you were head of platform development at Endemol.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. So here's my question. Isn't social media just another form of advertising?
I don't know. It depends how you define advertising. I mean, I think people think of social media more as marketing. I don't believe it. I mean, I think technically everything could be marketing, anything that's promoting yourself. But in this new world of social media, it doesn't work like the old world, like in TV and radio and newspapers where, it was the interruption economy, right? This whole idea of like interrupting you. You can read this, but you've got to see it. So we sort of moved to this conversation economy and there's still interruption in it, but you have more control over it. You can get by it. If you scroll faster through your Facebook feed, you don't see the ads, right? But if you slow down, you might see the ads that are more relevant. So there's been a big shift. And when you sort of getting back to your question, is it advertising or marketing? I believe it's awareness. Like it's just keeping your brand top of mind. So I guess, yes, it could be, but I don't think you want to use it for that.
Okay. Another question. I don't think anyone has really figured out what social media is and how to use it. Some people are getting lucky, but do they really know why they're getting all these views, why these things are going viral? Is there an emerging science behind how these people are interacting? So if you're a human behavior aficionado, what human behavior are you seeing emerging from the data that we're beginning to see now that Facebook is, more than almost a decade old?
Well, actually, it's not pretty. So a lot of the recent research is showing that people sitting in front of their social media feeds are more depressed. So I feel sort of like a drug dealer, and I'm pushing a drug that I know possibly could be bad for people. But I'm trying to make it the best drug out there for exploring and heightening your world. And there are some negative sides to social media, just like anything, but there are also some real positive sides as well too. So I think people understand social media, but the big difference now is that the way social media is built, it's very different from traditional media in the past. You're talking about artificial intelligence, you're talking about all sorts of things that have never really been part of, the amount of data that Google has on all of us and what we do and all of our buying habits, the same with Facebook. It's if you start looking into it, you can start to get a little bit worried, but I actually look at it at the positive side, which is that if they have all this data on me, then they should be presenting me with better things to buy. And it's starting to happen. You're starting to see things in your feed that are really relevant to you. And that whole idea around relevance is really important. I think that that's where the future of everything is going. Is why do I care? Why do I want this? Why do I want to understand this? Or why do I want to see what I'm being shown? And I think the interesting thing about that is that, do people understand it? It sounds like you're asking whether do marketers understand how to manipulate it? And I think that, yeah, we do. We do it all the time. But also, the question is, what are the best practices around getting the most out of it? Because that's what happened in the 50s and 60s with advertising, is that they finally realized that, this type of ad got the most sales. And there's people out there, and it's basically straight up pay to play now. Mark Zuckerberg's divided his Facebook into two places. There's a place where you can put up your organic content that will have ads in it. You are now the broadcaster. Me, Gavin, I'm the broadcaster. And then they have the ad side of an algorithm that's inserting into that. So I think that when you start to say about, well, can you manipulate it? Do people understand it? I would say no. It's pretty new, but we're starting to understand the power.
And is it a constant race to try and figure out what Google and Facebook are doing, and then you're always playing second fiddle to those algorithms? Or is there the opportunity for true organic growth to come in the social networks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going back to the manipulation thing, which I would say I would just, disagree. I think that, it's very easy. Zuckerberg, it says exactly what he wants. He's like, I want more video. People put up more video, they get more engagement, they get more reach. He's like, I control this platform. If you want to come on this platform, you either pay if you're a brand, or if you're a regular person, we'll let you do whatever you want because we want you. And it's very much like when they built a stadium. You pay a ticket to get into the stadium, and then there's advertisers in there that also pay to show you ads that hopefully will influence you. But you're paying each way, and we're paying with our data. We're paying Facebook with our data. We're looking at all these things. We're clicking on things, and so we're paying Facebook for that. Advertisers are being able to be on that platform.
Now, I think the difference is that your background, I mean, you go back sort of 10, 15 years into this sort of cross-platform data. So your understanding of social media is probably a lot deeper than most of these sort of new businesses that have come up without the background of marketing, advertising, and sort of cross-platform products that you've had. So do you think that there are a lot of, I suppose, sort of charlatans out there who are trying to sort of pick the low-hanging fruit, but don't really understand the importance of branding? I mean, what do you think is your central message that you say to your clients? This is what you have to understand more than anything else.
Oh, we don't. The way we work is it's a partnership. Like it says we're an agency, but we're really not. An agency is a situation where people go in and they really know the product. And they're like, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And when we work with our clients, we're like, actually, no, we're going to tell you what you have to do. This is our circle. This is what we spend every day trying to understand, is really understanding what works on these platforms, what people want to see. And that's why I say I'm a human behavior aficionado, is because I don't really care about the platforms. I care even less really about the brands I work with. I care about the audiences. And it's a big difference. Like, everyone wants to care about the brand and, oh, well, you're going to do, of course I'm going to do the best I can for their brand. But what I'm really doing is I'm looking at their audience and I'm spending time to say, what does this audience want? And then how can we have a conversation with them? The difference right now that most people are not gripping or not understanding is that you are reaching through a portal, a digital portal, and influencing something on the other side of the world by clicking a like button. And that person is arguably seeing that in real time. And people forget this, that we're communicating in the global village. Obviously, I am Canadian, you can probably hear from my accent, but at the same time, Marshall McLuhan talked about the global village and this idea that we are a village of people all together. And now we're all connected. And this is what I think that people are missing from social media a little bit, is that let's talk about the benefits of it, of how it can explore and heighten human behavior. Well, I have watched 3 or 4 of my friends who I would never have seen 20 or 30 years ago, because I wouldn't have had a way to connect with them other than by the phone. I've watched their children grow up. And when I meet their kids, I actually have lots of things to talk about. The kid might be 6 or 7 years old. And when you've seen them from a little baby up till the time that they're, 7 years old, when you meet them, you're like, hey, I remember when you did this and did this and did this. So, I think that it's an exciting time to be in human behavior, because I'm trying to understand how it's changing human behavior and what it means for us. And I guess the other side of it too is how it's changing the human brain, and it is. Oxford did a study, and you probably saw that study. It's changing the human brain. The 18-year-olds or 13-year-olds out there, their brains are completely wired differently.
The reason that you are so engaged with watching people grow up is because of that. It's an absolutely human thing. There's vulnerability, there's conversation, there's no, there's nothing plastic there. It's honest and genuine. Now, how do brands embrace that? How do you?
Wait, I'm gonna stop you there. No, it is not honest and genuine. This is the problem with Facebook. It's face bragging, is that people who know the people deeply and intimately realize that the stuff that everybody's putting up is the travel show from the 70s, right? It's like, hey, I went on a trip, look at all my travel pictures, right? But it's not really what's going. Very few people write, when they're feeling they're having a bad day, or their wife is yelling at them, or their husband is not being very nice to them, or that their kids are not respecting them. They don't put that stuff. They put up the really good, the great stuff. So it's a whitewash, and we're actually seeing it now. I mean, you can see, if you see some man posting a lot on his Instagram, you should probably give him a call, because when men post a lot on their Instagram, they're really depressed. I'm talking about selfies. Yeah. So they're starting to see things like this, and women as well too. So it depends on their age and all sorts of things. But this is the sort of research that's coming out around human behavior, that people are actually reaching out for help in ways that we've never seen before, and we don't understand the conversation.
So then, are we, even though some of us, we think that social media has been here for, in the case of millennials, before they were born, do you think that we're still in the infancy, or do you think we're, are we teenagers now, or, where are we?
Good question. I don't know. Like I could make up some stuff, but I really have no idea. I think that what's interesting is that, what is Facebook really? What is Instagram? It's just another internet, right? What does Facebook have? It has pages. What do we call the internet? They're internet pages. I mean, that's all Facebook did, is it just create another layer. And they made it easy for you to build a website. All Mark Zuckerberg is a giant website developer. He's basically created a way for you to create a page very simply and easily, that all looks the same, and it has reaction buttons and all that sort of stuff. But it's really not, I mean, it's sophisticated, but it's not that sophisticated. It's already been done. It's the internet level 2. So the question is, what's the internet level 3? Well, that's I think for me, it's going to be connected phones and things where you're working on a hive, and you're in a situation where people are, where the phones are connecting, which is also, I think Bram from BitTorrent is working a bit on that. So you're using peer-to-peer a little bit more. So there's some of that sort of stuff coming out as well too. But where's it going? What's it doing? The most interesting thing for me right now is that the AI that was a 4-year-old, now is about a 6 or 7-year-old, and that is starting to build the content in front of us in a very sophisticated manner without having humans involved.
I think, and I want to challenge you a little bit on what you were saying about Facebook being a website, because it's much more immersive than that. So, when studies come out showing that people get endorphins from like buttons, where they're living their lives through the lens, as it were, I think it is a bit more pervasive than that. And where I'm sort of taking all of this is how do you, as a business, really, how do you understand what are the nuts and bolts? And AI, which is really going to be able to predict our buying patterns before we know it. How, do brands have strategies now? Do we understand enough about where this is going to actually be part of it, or are we still sort of punching around in the dark?
No, I mean, we have very sophisticated strategies and best practices, and we really understand how to manipulate. We know right now that if you post 2 people mid-shot and Instagram to, most likely young people staring at the camera, you get double the number of engagement that you do if you just post a selfie. We know that on Instagram, if you post men with babies, it's off the charts. We know on Facebook that if you use 6 to 10 words as opposed to writing whole paragraphs, that you get more engagement. there's hundreds and hundreds of things that I can tell you about how to optimize your Facebook and what kind of content to post and how to use the data to do that. So yeah, I think there's some very sophisticated people out there, and I think we focus only in conversation and community. So our job is the future for me. 3 years ago, when I started seeing everyone spending all this money on Facebook, I was like, well, yes, okay, we're going to spend the money, but what's the real opportunity here? The real opportunity is the community. Is to build a community around a brand. And that's what we've been doing arguably for 8 years.
Yeah.
But definitely for the last 3 or 4 years is building these communities, because I don't want someone for 10 weeks, like a regular advertising campaign. I want them for 10 years. And once I get someone on a Facebook page and they like that page, and I keep delivering them content that they like, they'll stay engaged. And if they stay engaged with my brand, then I can maybe, promote other things to them, or I can sell other things to them. Even with Facebook's new changes where, for publishers, they're going to be able to charge a monthly subscription fee. You're going to see like all sorts of things start to change where, the publishers have millions and millions of fans, which some of them are our clients. They want to be able to monetize these fans. And Facebook's like, yeah, you should be able to do that.
And you're very much at the forefront. So the reason all of these metrics and is how? Is it from research you've done, or is it from your internally generated activities? Is it you being the pathfinder?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm extremely curious, but I'm more interested in just, there's things that Facebook and Instagram and Twitter want you to do. And then there's the other things that, because we have so many clients, we can see trends that other people might not see. So we'll see things that businesses, with over 1 million fans are doing really well with, or businesses that have only 10,000 fans that work really well for that. And we will, use those best practices on new clients, but also on our older clients. So we're always testing things. We have an R&D team, and that's their job, every day is to go and break the platforms. And what I mean by break, it's the same thing that Zuckerberg's doing. He's like, what have you broken today? So we're testing things all the time, and we're trying out to say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, did that lead to more engagement to people? But eventually, as some people say, is that you're going to have to pay to play, and there is a certain amount of that. I mean, we say on Facebook, you need to spend a minimum of $500 a month with your on your brand, on your Facebook brand, to get quadruple your reach. If you don't spend that, Facebook's like, well, I'm not going to give you any reach. It's very much a pay to play. You got to pay your vig.
And talking about communities, do you think the brands will change in terms of the way that they interact with their customers over the next, sort of 3 to 5 years? Will they completely change their approach?
Yeah, it's already happening. I mean, we're doing it for 4 or 5 customers right now. Probably the rest of ours, will end up doing it as well too. Is that we're playing with the chatbots. It's like get someone to your page, engage them on the page, and then drive them over to a chatbot where they ask a few questions, and then we push them off to a human where we can, possibly either get them a service or sell them something, or basically just answer their questions so that we can keep the brand top of mind. So there is a lot of that. I mean, chatbots are a big thing moving forward with Messenger and all those sorts of things. You're going to see more and more of that.
And so what Jumpwire does is to make sure that you stay ahead of all of these sort of trends and understanding. So how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're ahead of the pack and you're not the sort of the tail wagging the dog, as it were?
Yeah, it's exhausting. I'm too old, quite frankly. I gotta stop. But it's not pretty. I mean, I don't sleep a lot. But I don't know. It's like you got to stay ahead, and my teams are young and curious, and you got to be reading. I mean, we have half-hour calls every single day about what's new, what should we be testing, what should we be trying? Because what's happening is there's tons of press releases, but actually some of this stuff never gets released. Yeah. And people are like, oh, I heard Facebook say this, and there's so much misconception. There's so much, fake news, if you will, even from Facebook and Instagram and those guys who are trying to combat it. But there's so much stuff they release that never ends up coming to fruition, that they actually never release. And we're constantly testing it. Probably, I would say, like, out of 10 things in a week, maybe 3 or 4 are things that just, don't work or didn't release too early. So trust but verify.
Yes. And the clients that you deal with, do you just deal with the sort of the Coca-Colas, the Yahoos of this world, or do you deal with smaller businesses?
We deal with everybody. I mean, we're just launching a product next week, called, social media management and maintenance for small business, right? And that's, one of the reasons I decided to come on the show. You do a lot of small businesses is that, what businesses are looking for is they just don't want to have to worry about their social media.
Yeah.
And so we already do big brands, and we also do startups, and so we have all this knowledge. But the issue was that people didn't want to pay a lot of money. So we have packages now that are $500 a month,
Yes.
$500 for 4 weeks. But the idea is that, some people, we're just gardeners, like we're landscapers. We go and we cut your lawn. You're like, oh, great. They just came in, they cut the lawn. We keep the lawn at a certain level because that's what we do. We know about the grass. We know what grows. We know the right machines to use, etc. But if someone comes to us and says, well, I want you to build the new garden, we're like, okay, well, we can do that too. That's a different product that we have. It's our growth product. So, I mean, yeah, we have all sorts of ways for people to learn about social media. And when we have our Jumpwire Academy, which is, $497 a month.
Yeah.
But you get all sorts of things in there where you're learning all the time. And then you've got these other things for small businesses. And I think what we've found is that small businesses are just exhausted. They can maybe do Instagram, they can maybe do Facebook, but at the end of the day, they just want somebody to take care of it and not have to worry about it. So that's what we do. That's what all people in social media are doing.
It is, and that was my point. That as a small business owner, the more you try and get involved in social media, the more you understand how impossible it is without the sort of knowledge and experience that you have. So just by posting some stuff, by pushing information onto the social networks, I get we have discussions all the time with the people that I speak to about how many postings. I don't want to do more than one posting a week because I don't want to upset my followers. And there's this huge amounts of misunderstanding, and a lot of these people really have no real conception of what's involved. So I think it's fantastic that you're accessible. The fact that you're dealing with Coca-Cola and Yahoo and BBC on one hand, yet you're still able to provide the same depth of experience and knowledge to the smaller businesses.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's all knowledge, right? So we're in the knowledge selling business. That's what we do. And we're trying to let entrepreneurs and small business owners, but also big brands go and work on what they do and bring in people who are like, we're the exhausted ones. We're the ones who are testing everything all the time and pushing it out there. But at the end of the day, I mean, social media is important today as it was having a website in 1999 or 2000 or 2001. You had to have a website and you're like, well, I don't want to build it myself. So that's all we've done. We're not doing anything new or exciting I just see a need is that I see so many people. I go to dinner parties. They're all exhausted. They're just like, most people are backlashing against. They're like, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with social media. But if you're in the business, you have to.
But if you are in the business, if you are in business, you have to be.
If you're in business, you have to have a social media presence, and it doesn't have to be major. That's what I keep telling everyone. It's like, you don't have to be the biggest or the best. It's just, that's why we have these small packages that we built, right? It's just like, it's just one post a day. It's maintaining, it's making sure that people are coming out. Yeah. For some of our more sophisticated clients, we're posting 3, 10, 12, 50 times a day. But those are people that are using social media that are in media companies. I mean, we do 90% of our business is media companies.
Yeah, but,
so we get it.
But do businesses understand?
The business down the road, the cafe over there, they also have.
But do you find that businesses understand how valuable social media can be for them as well? No. I mean, you talk about media companies, and that's the natural link because obviously, media companies and social media go hand in hand. But do you have a message for other businesses who may not see that immediate link?
Yeah, I think it's really important that businesses understand that social media is not nice to have anymore. It's a need to have. You have to have it. If you work and live in North America, specifically Europe, if you are in the first world, you absolutely have to have a social media presence. And it doesn't have to be something off the charts. But what's happening is that people are handing it to their kids. They're handing it to people who are playing with the platforms, interns and that sort of thing. But they don't know what they're doing. They really don't. They're posting like they would post if they were at work. They don't understand brand. They don't understand any of that sort of stuff. So what we do is we go in for very sophisticated brands. We build, a voice and all those sorts of things. But for the everyday business, it's just about posting things that you think the people that come into your business would like. It's that simple. I mean, it's not hard. But people are like, no, I got to post about my business. I'm like, you're going to talk about your business all the time? People don't care. Give them something. So if you run a cafe, maybe you have a guitarist that comes in once a week and plays at your cafe. Well, put up some of his videos. Remember, your brand is on every single post in the top left corner on Facebook. Use that awareness. But put up things that people are going to like and be a part of. And if all you're doing is talking about how great your coffee is and when are you going to come in for a 10% discount, you're doing it wrong.
And do you have the ability to provide content? Because it's easy enough to say, just put good content up. But where do I get that from? How do I know it's good content? How do I know it's going to be engaging?
Well, I mean, listen, if you're a restaurant or a cafe or a small business or something, use your people. I mean, take a few photos of your people. It's across the board with all of our clients. When they shoot the people that work for them, if they have like large staff, even at Jumpwire, more than 40-50% engagement over anything else that they will have. People love to see the companies that people work for, and they like to see the people who work in them. So that's number one. If you're only going to do one thing, take a bunch of pictures and, as often as you can of your workers having fun and doing things at your work, and put them up, and you will do great things for your business. For example, for a cafe, take pictures of your workers doing a great job, joking around, having a fun time, being professional, but at the same time looking like it's a place, hey, I'd like to go and try that place. So you're giving people an insight into your world, and that's the key.
And you say it's the key, and again, can we stress this is important? This is a must-have. So to some to some old school cafe or restaurant owners, they go, oh, I don't really need this, but they find themselves losing business month after month because they're not doing that. And is it that critical?
Well, I don't know if they are. That's the issue. Maybe they're not losing business. I mean, if you're a retailer and it's about location, it's location, location, location. If there's tons of traffic going by, you might not need to do social media, but you will eventually lose the customer that could be that reoccurring daily customer who walked by. I mean, you think of the number of places you walk by every day that you never go into, right? Mm-hmm. Ever. Well, just in retail, let's just take one little sector. Yeah, you put up a few things in your Facebook page. You spend $500 a month, $1,000 a month, just having your Facebook and Instagram and Twitter with fun things for each platform. Like Instagram's very visual, Facebook is a little bit newsy and friendly and fun, and Twitter, maybe you're putting up all your press releases and stuff like that, news things that are happening. If you just do that, one person has to find it in some way, shape, or someone shares it. And they come by your restaurant, you made your money back, right? Well, maybe not all of it back, but you get a group of those people happening, and then you take it to the next level with easy things. If you've got a retail environment, hey, here's an Instagram wall. Take a picture in front of our Instagram. Train your staff. The number of retail places I go into and restaurants, and I'm like, where is the name of where we are right now? In tourist areas, I'm like, where am I right now? You have your brand isn't anywhere. How am I supposed to know? I want to take a picture. I want your brand. So, there's simple things that people can be doing right now, like taking the sign that's outside and putting one of exact same size inside. Yeah. So that when people so, I mean, a lot of it is just so simple and no-brainers. We're just like, oh, okay, we should do that. But you wouldn't believe how many conversations we have in a week where people are like, oh, that's the greatest idea. I'm like, really? But they just don't understand the platforms.
And I think that's it. So how do people contact you? I mean, how do they get involved with Jumpwire?
Well, I mean, probably you want to use some of our resources. We have really great Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. That if you want to learn about social media, we do lots of how-to We have lots of information. We put up blog posts. We do all sorts of stuff all the time. We're always retweeting and tweeting things, and or putting things up on our Facebook page. So that's probably the best way to get in touch with us. And check us out. Like, do some research, and and if you want to work with us, that's great. We'd love to work with you, but we are a boutique, and we don't work with everybody. We want to make sure that we can deliver what you want. And our biggest issue right now is that we have to educate people. They come in thinking about radio, TV, newspapers, and they're like, okay, I want to give you $500 and I want 7,000 new clients. I'm like, or I'm going to give you $25,000 and I want 1 million new clients. I'm like, no. It's about reinforcing. What can social media do for you? It can reinforce a purchase. So it's not about bringing new people to you. It's not a lead generation thing. It can also reinforce a purchase. I just bought a car. Okay, well, I go to the car's website, or I go to the Facebook page, and it has really great stuff on it. It makes me feel better about my purchase. Then I might recommend it to my friends. So there's the human behavior side of it is what's most important. Like, what do you want people to feel about your brand on social media? Are you a fun brand? Are you a professional brand? Or what are you, a leader? All those sorts of things.
And is that your biggest challenge, you think, just trying to educate the clients that you have so that you can put your team to work rather than getting them to repeat the same sort of Groundhog Day mantras?
Yeah, I mean, we have it, like, Jumpwire is different, right? We're not a marketing company, so we have a system. When you come and work with Jumpwire, you work with our social media system trademark, right? It's like, that's what we go in and we put the social media system in place. And this system works every single time. It either maintains, or it builds engagement, or it grows your brand. Right. So we have a system. So I would say to people, look for agencies that have systems and processes. And ours are we do it the same every single time, so that we know what works and we know what doesn't work. And we know what, that people are going to get value. I mean, clients that come to us, I'll be a little selly, but, we guarantee 200% 200% engagement growth on Facebook within 90 days. Like, we guarantee it. Like, we can say, you'll get 200%. If you don't, we'll make it work till it does.
Yes.
Those are the sorts of things that we now feel comfortable saying, okay, this is what's important to us, but, we'll get rid of the trolls. We'll make sure we worked with a massive entertainment brand who would not touch their Facebook page. They had millions of fans, but they wouldn't touch it because they were terrified. And it was full of trolls and people. We literally went in there and started posting. Within 2 weeks, the entire thing was cleaned up, because they didn't realize that if they were in there, that people were monitoring. We banned a few people, like 3 or 4 people that were the real troublemakers, and that went away. And all of a sudden we showed them that when they responded, their comments went to the top. So all the negative stuff was pulled down, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, but why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you understand the platforms? And that sort of brings it full circle, that we spend all our time understanding the platforms. We're getting certified on Facebook Blueprint, which is extremely difficult to do, right? It's not easy. So our job is to understand the platforms and then leverage them for our clients, because that's what people are doing. They're paying us for our knowledge and our experience.
And I think that's the real difference with you and many, many, many of these other so-called experts who have tried one thing, have had some success, but don't really understand it. And so they're simply, just doing the same thing over and over again, which has probably no chance of working for other clients. If you go onto Facebook, every third advert is for someone who's going to build your, million email list in 14 minutes or something. I presume that just doesn't exist.
I mean, we hear the horror stories. We've been part of them. We hear the success stories. We've been part of those too. So listen, everyone's trying to figure it out, and everybody wants the silver bullet. That's the one thing. When people come to us, they're like, okay, I want to be on social media, and I want it to do this. I'm like, well, it doesn't work like that. So if you want that, then you go to Mark Zuckerberg and you pay for that. You're going to pay the same rates as you pay on TV. I think Facebook is more expensive than TV now. So, but there are lots of tweaks and things you can do to make it more efficient and to spin in your behavior. Just like if you were going to spin in your favor, just like what would happen if you went on TV. If you do the right commercial and it cuts through, you can increase your sales by millions and millions. But the problem is that, we're 40, 50 years into TV, and people aren't willing to take any risks, and they know what works every single time. So they're doing, but right now on Facebook, it doesn't work like that. We're not 100% sure, but the targeting that we can do, the fact that I can go and find people who like paddle boards, who live in Marina Del Rey, who are 45 years old and work here and bought a Lexus in the last year and traveled to New York in the last 2 years. I mean, that's how specific I can get. I only want to show my ad to them, and I'm willing to pay $5 for that person, because I know that if that person comes and clicks on my link, I'm probably going to get a sale. So there's all sorts of different strategies, and I don't think any of them are wrong. But the thing is that there's a way to approach it, and you need to have a system to approach it. And that's sort of what we do, is we're like, here's our system, and our system is all around engagement and community. We don't do the marketing. If you want that, there's a million other companies out there. But if you want a big community of 1 million fans, then you're going to have to spend a couple $100,000. But at the end of the day, you'll have 1 million fans forever that you can sell a book to or push something to eventually. And if they're really engaged, sky's the limit.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. So I would imagine the clients that once they actually figure out that there is a huge science to this, there must be such a wave of relief that they've actually found someone who understands how this works.
Sometimes I think, we advise a lot of big brands, right? We actually we're the layer on top of their social media teams. We're actually advising the social teams. We're telling the social teams what to do, right? And that happens. That's what we have to do. Our job is to say, these are some things that we need to take into consideration. But at the end of the day, it's what are your objectives? What do you want to use social media for? How's the best way to do it? And right now, I believe the future of social media is conversation. That's where I'm interested in, and that's what I think is interesting. The fact that I can see who these people are, and only 8 to 9% of them are fake. Whereas you go to your website, 61% of the traffic coming to your website is not real. It's bots and things. So, there's all this stuff out there, but it's hard. I mean, you need to do a bit of everything. And that's what I think with social media. Some people can be very aggressive in it and get really great results. And they may have an audience that likes that, and other people will try it and get nothing out of it. But I don't see a downside for social. It's not a question of, you have to have it now. You absolutely have to have a good strategy. So if you're going to be efficient and spend money on a strategy, spend money where you're going to, with people who know what they're doing. And yeah, right now, just like in the web was in 2001, 2002, people overpromised and underdelivered. And we just don't do that. We're like, yeah, we're a little bit more expensive. We're like Audi. Some people are Volkswagen. Some people are Porsche. We're like Audi right in the middle. But we're a quality German, machine, right? You get what you pay for. And the thing about America, I say it all the time to my team. I'm like, we're not in the social media business. We're in the trust business, and we're in the delivering value business. And if we don't deliver that value to people, there are so many other competitors out there that they'll go to. That's why America works, is because if you don't stay on top of it, someone else is going to come and eat your lunch.
Yes, that's right. And I think that's, what is clear is that professionalism and knowledge that has been built up through, all those sort of years of experience, and just trial and error, just over and over again, trying things, getting results, the science behind it. I think that's another sort of massive differentiator. But Gavin, I can't thank you enough. Honestly, there's so much more. I think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of, what your team can do for businesses. The fact that your knowledge, experience dealing with big brands is available to small businesses, one-man bands on a budget that is, affordable enough to take the weight of social media and actually begin to educate them the value of it. So, I think it must be very exciting for businesses to actually, come across you and find you, if you let them in, that is.
No, we work with almost everybody. We have a product for everybody now. And so, I feel comfortable saying that, but listen, we say to everyone, go and get a go and get 2 or 3 quotes, and this is how we differentiate ourselves, but it may not be for you, right? So we get it. But right now, the future, the interesting thing in social, and the reason what I like about it is the conversation, is that people are having conversations in the digital world, and they're actually talking about things they really care about. We have some rabid communities. So I would say focus on your community. As we're wrapping up, I would just say, hey, listen, look further away to interact with your community across email, across social, about really getting to those people that really want to be a part of your brand, and find out the people that are really that are going to be the big influencers. And I really appreciate you having me on. And if anyone has questions or concerns, I would say that the one thing that if I was going to leave everyone with one thing, I would say go to our blog on our website at jumpwiremedia.com. Definitely go to the blog, because that's every one of our newsletters is in there. And in our newsletters, which we put out every week, we have the breakdown of what we think is important in social, and lots of how-to stuff. So you can just click on it and see the latest, and you can get lots of we curate articles, we write blog posts. So if you can take away one thing, I would go to our blog and go from there. And again, I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure. And again, talking about your blog, I read your blog, your blog every time it comes out, and it does have, as you rightly say, specific information. For example, we have found that if we post 3 times a day on our Instagram account rather than once a day, then it doubles the engagement. So really valuable pieces of information like that, rather than information that is vague and you can't put into action. So Gavin, you're absolutely right. I would certainly recommend anyone listening to this to register for the blog on the Jumpwire site. But thank you once again for being on the show.